Welcome to our Africa Tech segment. Nigeria's e-commerce sector is changing and on a great path. But almost a decade since the e-commerce boom, investors still seem not to be on the winning side. Although there's room for more players in the sector, as it opens up lots of opportunities, e-commerce buyers sometimes are at a disadvantage compared to the operators. To help us get a better understanding of all this, joining me in the studio is marketing expert and the marketing head of dealdate.com, Kelvin Olumese. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start with the basics. What exactly is e-commerce?
E-commerce, simply put, is selling online. So basically, you have a business that has a physical store, a local presence, then you have an online presence as well, where people can actually go in, transact for your product and services, and get feedback on it. As simple as that.
Okay, so with startups, what are some of the challenges facing young startups trying to survive against all odds in the sector?
For instance, in Nigeria, business is hard as well. We know for everybody, startups or not. But challenges facing startups particularly, I would say the biggest of all, is economic uncertainty. So basically, we know in Nigeria, startups project. They project how they make their money, profit margins, all those kind of things, because that is how they build their business models, with projections. And if the economic variables are not stable, like if inflation rate is going up, if oil prices are going up, all those things that affect the economy keep on going up and down, startups cannot plan well. They cannot project what is coming. So it basically feels like they're planning to fail, I would say that.
Okay, so how can we overcome all these challenges? Do you think it would have been easier if we had better policies targeted at startups?
Yeah, a lot of the things that also affect startups are policy related. For instance, like lack of local funding. A lot of startups fail because they don't have local funding. They don't have access to loans locally. If the government could help them to place them in situations where they can get loans transparent from the commercial banks or the Bank of Industry, I'm sure it will help them grow. I think other things that may also affect government policies can be like tax exemptions. So if startups get like tax exemptions for a startup that has a certain amount of staff, it will help. It encourage them to employ more people. Also help them to keep their taxes good. Other things that government could do is provide infrastructure, because a lot of startups run into extra costs providing infrastructure for themselves. You own a hotel, you need to build a road. You own a barber shop, you need to buy a gen and fuel it for 10 hours. All those things affect the startup at the end of the day. So if those things are possible, startups will definitely grow.
Well, like you mentioned, a lot of startups complain about funding, but do you think there are other things that are more important than funding? Money, it's weird, but do you think there could be other things?
Well, I would say funding is very important,
Major,
but there are other things that are more important, like the economic uncertainty I spoke about. You could have all the money in the world, and your projections would never be according to plan if they keep on going, if the economic variables keep on going up and down. Other things that could also affect startups are the government policies, like I said. If you don't have the right loans or the right tax policies, all the profits will be eroded through all this means. So yeah, those are other things that can affect startups.
Common trend is, why is it that startups raise and after a while they fizzle out?
Well, most of that is, first of all, most startups start up with loans, so they don't start up with personal money. So you take a loan and you make profit on the loan, but now you have to repay the loan with interest on top of it. By the time that goes on, most startups have eroded their profits. By the time they pay back their loans, they are back to where they started from, looking for another loan or another investor. As well, most of it happens from mismanagement. So the startups have CEOs that have their own agendas and have their own comfort levels. So they don't take the business as a startup. They take it as, I'm the CEO of a company that has $5 million investment. So they take that kind of salary that means the startup may eventually run down. As well, expanding too fast. Some startups don't take research and planning seriously. So you have a startup that's working well in Lagos, and you think, oh, I can take it to Kano and Zamfara in the next 2 months, of which in Lagos you had the best team. In this state, you might not. You might not even know the local content over there. So these are things that startups usually make mistakes on that end up killing them before they even grow big enough.
Okay, on a final note, what are the takeaways for new entrants in the sector?
Okay, in the e-commerce sector
particularly. Yes.
Okay, for the e-commerce sector particularly, because e-commerce means you have to buy online. I think the first thing every new entrant should do is research your business. Do my customers need to buy online? There are a lot of businesses that you don't need to buy online. For instance, if you're selling private jets, nobody's going to buy a private jet online. But people would look for a private jet online. So where can I buy a private jet will be online. So you can have information first before you go over to trying to actually sell to people online. As well, you should also make sure you have high profit margins, because for e-commerce, almost every transaction you make has a cost that comes with it. The marketing cost, all those little costs that come with it. Just like outside stores, but e-commerce is more because you can count every single thing that happens. So a click on a website, a view on a page, all those things can come for a cost. So you have to make sure your margins are high enough to cover all those costs as you go down the line. Another thing is you need to invest in good digital marketing, because like e-commerce is already online. So if you don't meet customers that are online, you might never actually get out of it. You have to meet them as they're online so that they can actually just buy your stuff.
Marketing expert Kevin Olumese, thank you for joining us on Network Africa and helping us understand that a bit better.
No problem. Thank you for having me also.
Thank you.